Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. The next day, Sam was finishing up his shift at the garage when he noticed his phone buzz on the workbench. He glanced at the screen, and there it was. A text from an unfamiliar number. Hi, this is Clara Bellamy. My assistant will send you the details for the charity event. Hope to see you there tonight. Sam stared at the message for a moment, unsure of what to do. He wasn't the kind of guy who went to fancy events. He preferred the comfort of his garage, working with his hands. But something about Clara's invitation lingered in his mind. He had found her diamond ring, after all. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to go, just for a little while. He could use a break from the usual routine. As the evening approached, Sam found himself standing in front of his mirror, unsure of what to wear. He couldn't believe he was about to attend a charity gala, of all things. He pulled on a clean button-up shirt, ran a comb through his hair, and sighed. He wasn't used to this kind of world, the world Clara lived in. The world of sleek suits, sparkling jewelry, and polished shoes. He felt out of place, but something inside him urged him to go. Maybe it was the curiosity that still gnawed at him. Who was Clara, really? And why had she invited him? The venue was an extravagant ballroom located in the heart of the city. Sam stood in front of the entrance, feeling his nerves kick in. He had never been in a place like this before. The towering marble columns, the soft glow of chandeliers, and the laughter and chatter of the guests made him feel like a fish out of water. He glanced down at his shoes, still unsure if he belonged here. But then he saw Clara. She was standing across the room, talking to a group of well-dressed guests, her smile radiant. She spotted him almost immediately, her face lighting up with recognition. Sam felt his heart race. She looked even more elegant in the evening gown she wore, her hair pinned back to perfection. She waved at him, motioning for him to come over. He hesitated for a moment before making his way across the room. Sam, I'm so glad you could make it, Clara said as he reached her. Her voice was warm, friendly, and Sam couldn't help but feel a little less nervous in her presence. She looked him over, as if surprised to see him here. You clean up well, she added with a smile. Sam chuckled awkwardly, adjusting his collar. Thanks, he muttered, feeling self-conscious. Clara led him toward a quieter corner of the room, where they could talk without the noise of the event drowning out their conversation. As they stood there, sipping champagne and chatting, Sam found himself slowly relaxing. Clara was easy to talk to, and he was surprised by how much they had in common. Despite their different worlds, they both shared a love for simple pleasures, a good cup of coffee, a quiet evening at home, and the thrill of a job well done. Sam found himself opening up to her in a way he hadn't expected. He told her about his life as a mechanic, the shop he had inherited from his father, and the long hours he spent fixing cars. Clara listened intently, her eyes focused on him, and Sam couldn't help but notice the way she made him feel seen. She wasn't just another wealthy socialite looking down on him. She seemed genuinely interested in his life. You know, you're a lot more interesting than I thought, Clara said, her tone playful. Sam raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you mean by that? Clara laughed softly. Well, when I first saw you, I thought you were just a mechanic. But now I see there's more to you than that. You're real. You don't hide behind a persona like most people here. Sam felt a wave of warmth wash over him. He wasn't used to hearing compliments like that. It made him feel like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as out of place as he thought. The night went on, and Sam found himself getting more comfortable in the fancy setting. As the evening drew to a close, Clara took him aside, her expression serious. I need to tell you something, she said softly. I didn't invite you here just because you found my ring. There's something else I want to ask you, something personal. Sam's heart skipped a beat. What could it be? What's going on? He asked, his curiosity piqued. Clara took a deep breath before speaking. I'm in a situation where I need help. There's a business deal I need to secure, and it involves something delicate. I need a favor, Sam. A big one. I can't explain all the details right now, but if you're willing to help, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Sam frowned, unsure of what she meant. What kind of favor? He asked, his voice cautious. Clara gave him a small, knowing smile. Let's just say it involves a contract. A business arrangement. And you might be the perfect person to help me. Sam stood there, processing her words. The invitation, the mystery of the ring, and now this unexpected offer. He was starting to feel like he had just stepped into a world much bigger than he had ever imagined. A world of wealth, power, and secrets. And the deeper he got, the more he wondered if he could really say no. Think about it, Clara said, her voice calm but insistent. I'll give you time, but just know that this could be your chance to change everything. Sam stared at her, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Was he really ready to step into this world? After the gala, Sam couldn't stop thinking about Clara's words. The offer, the contract, the chance to step into a world of wealth and power, it was tempting. But Sam wasn't sure he was ready for something like that. He had worked hard his entire life, sticking to what he knew. The garage, his father's legacy, and his small but steady life. Clara had given him time to think, but as the days passed, the weight of her proposition began to sit heavily on him. He tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept drifting back to her, to the mystery surrounding her invitation, and to the opportunity that might change everything. It was a week before Sam finally decided to meet Clara again. He had spent the past few days weighing his options. Could he really walk away from a chance to change his life? He had always been a man of principles, but Clara had a way of making him question everything he thought he knew. He found himself driving to her office building, a sleek high-rise in the heart of the city, its windows reflecting the busy streets below. The place felt like another world entirely, one that Sam wasn't sure he belonged in. Clara's assistant greeted him at the door, leading him into a modern conference room where Clara was waiting. She stood up as he entered, offering a smile that was both welcoming and professional. I'm glad you could make it, Sam, she said, gesturing for him to sit. I know you've been thinking about my offer, and I want to give you all the information you need to make a decision. Sam nodded, still unsure of what he was walking into. I've been thinking a lot about it, he said, his voice cautious. Clara raised an eyebrow, her interest piqued. And? She asked, her tone soft. Sam leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. I'm not sure this is something I can just jump into, he admitted. It feels like I'm crossing a line I can't go back from. Clara's eyes softened as she listened. She had expected some hesitation, but she knew this was a step Sam needed to take on his own terms. I understand, Clara said gently. This is a big decision, Sam. But you have to know, I wouldn't ask you to do this if I didn't believe you were the right person for the job. It's not about the money or the business deal. It's about the kind of person you are. She paused for a moment, watching his reaction. You see, I need someone who understands hard work, someone who isn't just looking for a quick fix or a handout. You've shown me that you're capable of more than you realize. Sam was silent for a moment, digesting her words. Clara had a way of speaking that made him feel like he was the only person in the room, like she saw something in him that even he hadn't recognized. It was both flattering and intimidating. So what exactly is it that you need me to do? He finally asked, his voice steady but filled with curiosity. Clara took a deep breath, then leaned forward slightly. I need you to help me save my company. We're facing a hostile takeover, and I need someone to help me fight back. Someone with a different perspective, someone who can think outside the box. She smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. Someone like you. Sam stared at her, his mind racing. Wait, you want me to help you run your company? He asked, incredulous. Clara nodded. Not exactly run it, but to play a key role in stopping this takeover. You'll be a strategic partner. I know it's a lot to ask, but I believe in you, Sam. Sam wasn't sure whether to laugh or feel overwhelmed. He had no experience in high-stakes business dealings, no knowledge of the corporate world. Yet, Clara was asking him to be part of something huge. The thought of diving into a world so far removed from his own made his stomach turn, but at the same time, a part of him was drawn to it. Could this be his chance to prove to himself that he was capable of more? I'm not sure I'm the right person for this, Sam said, his voice low. Clara smiled again, her gaze never leaving his. I think you're exactly what I need. Trust me, Sam. I wouldn't ask you if I didn't believe you could do it. She stood up, walking over to a nearby table and picking up a contract. This is the formal agreement, she said, holding it out to him. Take a look, think it over. But I need your answers soon. Sam took the contract from her, feeling the weight of it in his hands. It was more than just a piece of paper. It was a decision that could change the course of his life. As Clara led him out of her office, the city lights flickered in the distance, and Sam felt a sense of uncertainty settle in his chest. He wasn't sure where this path would lead, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like he had a chance to make something of himself. Clara smiled as Sam walked away, knowing she had planted a seed in his mind. It was only a matter of time before he would make the choice. She just hoped he would choose the right path, the path that would lead them both to something greater than they ever expected. The next morning, Sam woke up with the contract Clara had given him lying on his kitchen counter. He had barely slept the night before, turning the offer over and over in his mind. The weight of the decision was heavy. He never imagined himself getting involved in something like this. It felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure if he was ready to jump. His garage, his simple life, everything he had worked for, was in stark contrast to the world Clara had pulled him into. Yet, there was something about her, something about the way she believed in him, that kept him from simply walking away. Sam walked into the garage, the familiar smell of oil and metal grounding him. It was his world, the only one he truly understood. As he opened the door to the main shop, his mind kept drifting back to Clara and her offer. What was he really getting into? A part of him wanted to believe he could do it, could help her and make a difference. But another part of him doubted. Could he really handle a business deal of that magnitude? Could he really trust Clara? The thought of diving into the unknown made him nervous, but it also excited him. He grabbed his toolbox and began working on the car that had been left behind the night before, but his mind wasn't fully focused on the work. His thoughts kept going back to Clara's words. You're exactly what I need. Was she right? Was this his chance to prove that he could do more, be more, than just the mechanic who fixed cars for a living? As he worked, Sam realized something. He had been playing it safe for far too long. The truth was, he was stuck. Stuck in his routine, stuck in his comfort zone, and the only way out was to take a risk. It wasn't long before Sam's phone buzzed, pulling him out of his thoughts. It was another text from Clara. Sam, I wanted to check in. Have you made a decision? Sam stared at the message, his thumb hovering over the reply button. He could feel the weight of it again. This wasn't just about fixing cars anymore. This was about stepping into a new world. And Clara wasn't going to wait forever. He took a deep breath, put his phone down, and finished working on the car. As he wiped his hands clean, a sense of resolve began to form. He knew he couldn't keep running from this. He had to make a choice. Sam grabbed his phone, typed a quick response, and hit send. I'm in. Let's do this. A few seconds later, his phone buzzed again, and Clara's reply was almost immediate. Great. I'll have my team set everything up. I knew you were the right person for this. Sam's heart pounded as he stared at the screen, the gravity of his decision starting to sink in. Later that afternoon, Sam met Clara at her office once again. This time, he wasn't the hesitant man who had walked in the first time. There was a new determination in his step. Clara greeted him with a bright smile, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. I'm so glad you're here, she said, ushering him into the meeting room where a team of business professionals were already gathered. Sam felt a little out of place, surrounded by people in suits, but he didn't let it show. He had made his decision, and there was no turning back now. Clara introduced him to the team, explaining his role in the deal, and Sam listened carefully. He was still a little unsure of the specifics, but he was ready to dive in. The more they discussed, the more Sam realized that he could actually contribute. He might not know everything about business, but he knew how to fix things, how to solve problems. And that was exactly what Clara needed, a fresh perspective. She didn't want someone who was caught up in the corporate world. She needed someone who could think on his feet, someone who wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. As the meeting progressed, Sam began to feel more comfortable in the room. His mind started clicking into gear as he asked questions, offered solutions, and even suggested a few new ideas. Clara's team seemed impressed by his insight, and Sam found himself gaining more confidence as the minutes passed. For the first time since he had agreed to the offer, he felt like he belonged here. It wasn't just about fixing cars anymore. It was about fixing problems, big ones, and maybe even changing the course of Clara's company. After the meeting, Clara took Sam aside. "You're doing great," she said with a smile. "I knew you had it in you." Sam couldn't help but grin. The uncertainty that had plagued him earlier was starting to fade. He was in this now, fully invested in helping Clara save her company. He had no idea what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, Sam felt like he was on the right path. As Sam left Clara's office that day, a sense of purpose washed over him. The future was uncertain, but he was ready to face it. For the first time, he was stepping out of his comfort zone and into a world that had once seemed out of reach. And with Clara by his side, he felt ready to take on whatever came next. The days following Sam's decision to join Clara's team were a whirlwind of meetings, strategies, and late-night brainstorming sessions. Clara kept her promise to make him a key player in the company's fight against the hostile takeover. Sam spent most of his time learning the ins and outs of the business world, something he had never imagined himself doing. He was used to grease-stained hands and engines, not contracts and corporate strategies. But the more he immersed himself in the work, the more he realized he had a knack for problem-solving, something Clara had seen in him from the start. One evening, as Sam sat at the conference table, reviewing some figures Clara had asked him to look over, she walked in with a stack of papers in her hands. She looked exhausted, but there was a fire in her eyes that Sam had come to recognize. She was determined, unwavering in her drive to save her company. One evening, after another long day of meetings and revisions, Sam walked Clara out to her car. The night air was cool, and the lights from the city reflected off the sleek surface of the vehicles parked on the street. As they stood by the car, Clara turned to Sam, her expression softening. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said, her voice quieter now. "You've been incredible, Sam. I don't think anyone else could have come in and made the kind of difference you've made." Sam was taken aback by her words. He wasn't used to receiving compliments, especially not from someone like Clara, who was so driven and successful. "I'm just doing my job," he said, feeling a little uncomfortable with the attention. But Clara shook her head. Clara took a step closer to him, her voice almost a whisper. "Sam, But before she could finish her sentence, they were interrupted by a sudden shout from across the street. A group of people was gathered around a car, clearly in distress. Without thinking, Sam rushed toward the scene, his instincts kicking in. He turned to Clara as he ran. "Stay here. I'll handle it." The scene was chaotic, but Sam didn't hesitate. He moved quickly, assessing the situation. It was a flat tire on a car, but the driver was an elderly woman who seemed frail and distressed. Sam knew what to do. He calmly reassured her, fixed the tire, and helped her back into her car. When he turned around, Clara was there, watching him with a thoughtful expression on her face. After the incident was handled, Sam returned to Clara, who was now standing quietly by her car. "You know," she said softly, "you really do have a way of taking charge, of making things happen. I'm starting to see why you're the one who was meant to be here in my life." Sam didn't know what to say. He wasn't sure what this all meant, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't the same person who had walked into Clara's office a few weeks ago. He had grown, learned, and most importantly, he had found a place where he truly belonged. And as they stood there, in the quiet of the evening, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that this partnership, this connection with Clara, was only just beginning. Over the next few weeks, Sam found himself more deeply immersed in Clara's world. The hostile takeover was still looming, but the closer Sam got to the business, the more he realized how much he had underestimated himself. What started as a simple task, helping Clara with her company's problems, had transformed into a mission he couldn't ignore. His role in the company was growing, and Clara kept pushing him to take on more responsibility. She trusted him, and that trust fueled something inside him. He wasn't just fixing cars anymore. Now, he was fixing problems that could change the fate of an entire company. One evening, after another successful meeting where they had successfully blocked another move from the rival company, Clara and Sam were walking out of the office together. The city lights were dimming as the night crept in, but their conversation was full of energy. Clara's smile seemed brighter than ever, and Sam couldn't help but notice how much more confident he was feeling. "You've been incredible, Sam," Clara said, glancing at him as they walked. "I don't know where we'd be without you." Sam looked over at her, his hands jammed into his pockets. "I'm just doing my part," he said, but there was a hint of pride in his voice. You've taught me a lot. I never thought I could get involved in something like this, but here we are. Clara smiled, the warmth in her eyes unmistakable. You've got more to offer than you realize. And I'm starting to think you've been exactly what this company needed. They stopped at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. The city was bustling around them, but for a moment, it felt like it was just the two of them, standing in that brief silence. Sam glanced at Clara, feeling a pull he hadn't expected. There was something about her presence that made him feel like he was part of something bigger than himself. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone in the world. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a partner, a trusted ally, and someone who was making a real difference. The light changed, and they crossed the street, heading toward the parking garage where Clara's car was parked. As they reached the entrance, Clara stopped and turned to face him. "Sam," she said, her voice low and serious. "I need to talk to you about something." Sam's heart skipped a beat. He had no idea what this was about, but her tone was different than usual. Clara's eyes met his, and there was an intensity there that he hadn't seen before. "What is it?" he asked, his voice filled with curiosity. Clara took a deep breath before speaking. "I've been thinking a lot about what you've done for me and this company. You've proven that you're not just some guy I found off the street. You've got real potential. And I think it's time we take our partnership to the next level." Sam's eyes widened slightly. "What do you mean?" he asked, confused but intrigued. Clara smiled, her eyes never leaving his. "I'm offering you a seat at the table, Sam. I want you to be more than just an advisor. I want you to be a part of this company, a partner." Sam stood there, stunned. A partner? He had barely started getting the hang of business and strategy, but Clara was offering him something he never thought possible. It was more than just a job offer. It was a chance to change everything. "I don't know what to say," Sam said, his voice thick with emotion. Clara reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to say anything right now. Take some time to think about it. But know this, Sam, this company needs you. I need you." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Sam wasn't sure what to do. His mind was racing, and his emotions were all over the place. He had never imagined himself being part of something like this, but now that the opportunity was in front of him, he couldn't help but feel like it was the right step. Clara had trusted him from the beginning, and now she was offering him something even bigger. He could feel the weight of the decision, but he also felt a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. Clara smiled at him, sensing his hesitation. "Take your time," she said gently, "but just know that the offer stands. You're not alone in this anymore." With that, she turned and walked toward her car, leaving Sam standing there in the dimming light of the evening. He stood for a moment, his thoughts swirling. He had come so far, but this decision, this step, could change everything. Was he ready to take the leap? As he walked to his truck later that evening, Sam couldn't stop thinking about Clara's offer. He wasn't sure if he was ready for the responsibility that came with it, but he couldn't deny that something inside him wanted to say yes. He had worked so hard to get to this point, and now, he had a chance to be part of something much bigger. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Sam felt like he was headed in the right direction. The next few days were a blur for Sam. He couldn't shake Clara's offer from his mind. The idea of becoming a partner in the company, of stepping into a world so far removed from his simple life as a mechanic, felt both exhilarating and overwhelming. He spent every free moment replaying their conversation over and over in his head, trying to decide if he was truly ready to take such a huge leap. But no matter how much he thought about it, one thing was clear. Clara had placed a great deal of trust in him, and that trust was something he couldn't take lightly. One evening, as Sam worked late in the garage, trying to focus on fixing an engine that had been giving him trouble all week, he received another text from Clara. "I know you've been thinking a lot about the offer. I just wanted to check in and see where you stand. Don't feel pressured, take your time. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I believe in you." Sam stared at the message for a moment, feeling a mix of emotions. She was right. He needed time to process everything, but every time he thought about it, the more he realized that this was an opportunity he couldn't let slip by. That night, after he finally finished working on the car, Sam sat down with a beer in hand, staring out into the quiet night. He thought about how far he had come. A few months ago, he had been stuck in a routine, working in his father's garage, never imagining that he would find himself at the center of a battle to save a multi-million-dollar company. And yet, here he was, part of something bigger than he could have ever dreamed. The next morning, Sam met Clara at her office again. He had made up his mind. As he walked into the sleek building, his heart pounded. In his chest, he had never been in a place like this before. The polished floors, the bustling staff, and the hum of activity. It was all so different from the grease and oil he was used to. Clara greeted him with a warm smile, and for a moment, he felt at ease. "I've made my decision," Sam said, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. Clara looked up from her desk, her expression softening. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice gentle. Sam took a deep breath. "I'm in. I'll take the offer. I'm ready to be a part of this. Ready to help you save your company." Clara's face lit up with surprise and gratitude. "Are you sure?" she asked, her eyes searching his face. Sam nodded. "I'm sure. This is where I'm meant to be." Clara stood up from her desk, crossing the room to where Sam stood. "You don't know how much this means to me," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "I've been so uncertain about everything lately, but with you here, I feel like we can actually win this. We can make it through." She placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm and reassuring. Sam smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. He had taken the plunge, and now there was no turning back. He was ready to fight for something bigger than just a paycheck. He was ready to fight for a future. As they sat down to discuss the next steps, Sam felt a surge of excitement and determination. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about trust, partnership, and maybe something more. Over the next few weeks, they worked side by side, navigating the tricky waters of the corporate world. The pressure was immense, but Sam was learning more with each passing day. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was an integral part of a team, using his instincts and problem-solving skills to help steer the company through one obstacle after another. But as the days passed, Sam started to notice something else. His feelings for Clara were growing deeper. He admired her strength, her drive, and the way she believed in him. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and being with her made him feel like he was finally stepping into his own potential. He hadn't expected to find this kind of connection, but now, he couldn't imagine his life without her. One evening, after a long day of work, Sam stayed late at the office, going over the final details of a major deal that could secure the company's future. Clara walked in, her hair slightly tousled and her face flushed from the busy day. She smiled when she saw him, a warmth in her eyes that made Sam's heart skip a beat. "You're still here?" she asked, her voice soft. "I'm just finishing up," Sam replied, his voice a little rougher than usual. Clara walked over to his desk, standing close enough for Sam to feel the warmth radiating from her. As she leaned over to look at the papers in front of him, Sam realized how much he had come to care for her. It wasn't just about the work anymore. It was about something deeper, something he couldn't quite put into words. And for the first time in a long time, he realized that this wasn't just a business partnership. It was something more. Clara glanced up at him, her expression softening. "Sam, I'm really glad you're here. I don't think I could have done this without you." Sam met her gaze, feeling the weight of her words. He knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The following weeks were a blur of hard work and late nights for Sam and Clara. The battle to save the company was reaching its peak. Sam had quickly become an indispensable part of the team, and his instincts for problem-solving had saved them more than once. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a strategist, someone who was earning Clara's trust every single day. But despite the progress they made, there was an undercurrent of tension between them. Sam couldn't ignore it anymore. The feelings he had for Clara were growing deeper with each passing day. It wasn't just admiration for her strength and intelligence. It was something more. But he had never allowed himself to feel that way before, especially about someone so out of his world. He wasn't sure if Clara felt the same. And every time he thought about confessing, a wave of doubt held him back. One night, after a particularly grueling meeting, Sam and Clara found themselves alone in her office, going over the final details of the deal that could make or break everything. The tension in the room was palpable. Clara was focused on the papers in front of her, but Sam could see the exhaustion in her eyes. He wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. It wasn't just about the company anymore. It was about them. The moment had been building for weeks, and now it felt like it was about to come to a head. Clara looked up from the papers, meeting Sam's gaze. There was a softness in her eyes that made Sam's heart race. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she said quietly. "I've been through so much these past few months, and you've been the one steady thing in all of it." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it sent a shiver down Sam's spine. He had never heard her speak like this, not with such vulnerability. Sam's heart thudded in his chest. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken emotions. Clara took a small step toward him, her expression softening. "Sam," she began, her voice low but filled with intent. "I need to be honest with you about something. All this time, I've been so focused on the company and the deal that I've overlooked something important. And now, I realize that." She stopped, her breath catching slightly as she looked at him. Sam's pulse quickened as he stepped closer to her. His mind raced, unsure if he should say something, unsure of where this was going. But then Clara reached out, gently touching his arm, and everything inside him seemed to still. "I can't pretend anymore," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "The truth is, I've come to care for you more than I ever thought I would. It's not just about business or saving the company. It's about you, Sam. I trust you. I've started to feel something for you that goes beyond all of this." For a moment, Sam just stared at her, his heart pounding in his chest. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Clara, the woman who had been his mentor, his partner, was saying that she felt the same way he did. All the doubts, the fears he had kept bottled up, suddenly seemed to melt away. "Clara," Sam whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I feel the same way. I didn't want to admit it, but I've been trying to ignore how much you mean to me. This whole thing, it's been about so much more than just the company. It's about us, and I." He stopped, realizing that for once, he didn't need to be careful with his words. He could just speak the truth. Clara smiled softly, her eyes glistening with something Sam couldn't quite name. "I know," she said, stepping even closer to him. "I feel it too, and for the first time, I'm not afraid to say it." The world outside the office seemed to fade away as Sam and Clara stood there, inches apart, their shared feelings hanging in the air. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about something real, something they both needed in their lives. Sam reached out, taking Clara's hand in his, and for the first time, he felt like he had found his place, not just in the company, but in her life. The night ended with a quiet understanding between them. There was still much to be done, still so many challenges ahead, but for the first time, Sam felt like he wasn't facing them alone. He had Clara by his side, and together, they could handle anything. The weeks that followed were a turning point for both Sam and Clara. With their newfound connection, they worked side by side, navigating the corporate world with a newfound sense of unity. The pressure was still there, the hostile takeover hadn't gone away, but with Sam by her side, Clara felt more confident than ever. Together, they faced every challenge head-on, finding solutions in ways neither had expected. The more Sam learned about the business, the more he realized just how much he had grown. He wasn't just the mechanic anymore. He was a vital part of the team, and his voice mattered in every meeting. One evening, after a particularly intense meeting where they had successfully blocked yet another attempt by the rival company to seize control, Sam and Clara stood in her office, catching their breath. The tension was finally starting to lift, and Sam could feel a sense of accomplishment settling in. Clara smiled at him, her eyes bright with gratitude. In that moment, something shifted between them. What had started as a partnership had turned into something deeper, something unspoken yet undeniable. Sam could see it in Clara's eyes. She had become more than just his business partner. She had become someone he cared about in ways he hadn't fully realized until now. As the days went on, Clara and Sam's bond only grew stronger. They continued to tackle the challenges of the takeover, but now, they did so with a shared sense of purpose. The connection they had, both personal and professional, fueled them through every obstacle. And with each passing day, Sam knew that he had found something he had been searching for all along: purpose, belonging, and someone to stand by his side. One night, after a particularly long day, Clara and Sam found themselves standing outside the office, looking out over the city. The cool breeze felt refreshing after the heat of the day, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to stand still. Sam turned to Clara, his heart pounding with anticipation. Sam's heart swelled as he took her hand in his. In that moment, everything became clear. The future, whatever it held, would be a journey they would take together. Sam wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a partner in every sense of the word, both in business and in life. And as Clara leaned in, Their lips meeting in a soft, meaningful kiss, Sam knew that this was just the beginning. They had built something strong, something real. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united, with the same determination and love that had brought them this far. As they pulled away, their hands still intertwined, Clara looked at Sam with a smile that said everything. The future was uncertain, but they had each other, and that was all they needed. And so, with the hostile takeover finally behind them, Sam and Clara stood side by side, ready to take on whatever the future had in store for them. Together,